Hello and welcome to ZDNet Security Update with me, Danny Palmer. Internet of Things connected devices are becoming a bigger and bigger part of all of our everyday lives. But while products like sensors, cameras and medical equipment are providing us with benefits by being connected to the internet, they're also bringing potential risks when it comes to hacking and cyber attacks. Alex Hinchliffe, Threat Intelligence Analyst at Unit 42 at Palo Alto Networks, is here to talk to me about the issue. So Alex, what's the current state of IoT security?
Well, thanks, Danny. Thanks for inviting me here. Well, the current state here is, as you say, that the number of devices are really growing kind of exponentially at the moment. There's a huge growth, especially in the enterprise market. So I think Gartner reported that there was something like over 20% increase from 2018 to 2019, just in the enterprise market, with an estimated, I think it's almost 5 billion devices being connected to general networks, organization networks. So the general state of it is that the more devices we have out there, potentially the greater the attack surface area is for people to, get into the network to exploit these devices and get access to them and do whatever they want with them, really. And I think for the most part, that a lot of this comes down to weak security, so weak passwords, default passwords, vulnerable operating systems being exploited, and so with all these new devices and a large number of them, we're seeing a lot of attacks against them.
So what are the dangers of poor IoT security? You mentioned attacks there. I mean, what sort of things can be done by hackers if they're exploiting IoT devices?
So I guess we hear, in the news quite often about webcams being compromised and people's computers being compromised, typically by things like remote access Trojans and backdoors that can monitor the webcam or monitor keystrokes and things like that as people are typing. With IoT, it's more around the kind of network-based attacks, as you can imagine, because they're all internet connected, or they're connected to a network. So we see things like the Mirai botnet is a prevalent piece of malware. It's been publicly leaked, or it's leaked, and so it's got many variants and forks, if you like. So we see different variants. We published about one recently that includes, another set of exploits to take advantage of vulnerable devices, things like routers, video conferencing systems, firewalls, payment systems, that kind of stuff. Once they're on the network, for the most part, it's about building this botnet. The more victims they have, the more systems that they have under their control, the greater the potential for launching an attack, like a distributed denial of service attack, which we've seen over the last couple of years affecting huge portions of the internet. But I think now we're seeing a bit of a shift from just gathering as many bots as you can and doing something like a DDoS to actually trying to use the IoT devices to move further into the network of the victim organization, especially in an enterprise environment. And that could be for multiple reasons. One is they want to get to the actual computers, not the IoT devices. They want to get to the data, or they want to deploy ransomware, whatever it might be. The other is for espionage as well. If you're on the network, you're monitoring cameras or you're monitoring network flow through a device like a router, the potential to gather a lot of sensitive information is quite great.
And that's going to be especially the case in sensitive environments. Hospitals are using more and more connected devices and Internet of Things devices. And there's been recent studies showing that the expansion of these onto networks is helping the spread of some really, really old types of malware like Conficker, which has been around since 2008, but seems to be coming back because of IoT devices.
Yeah, it does. We see it flying around through our sensors, quite often. And I think it's just the case that because it's a worm, and as long as it's resident in someone's memory on a computer somewhere, if someone else plugs in another device on the same network or the internet, that's vulnerable to that very old Microsoft, I think SMB exploit, then it's only a matter of time before it gets infected. And so I think some of these images which organizations use to re-image their systems back to a known good state are pretty old. They're not patched. And so as soon as they're on the network, they get infected. So there really needs to be a lot more care and attention put into hardening those systems before they get plugged in.
So as you mentioned, more needs to be done to boost IoT security on the network. So yeah, what should organizations be doing in order to improve their IoT security?
Well, I think one of the problems is, and we always talk about this at Palo Alto Networks, is the visibility. You know, you can't protect what you don't know and you can't see, and you can't get the kind of telemetry as to what devices are on the network and other things unless you're monitoring and getting that visibility. So things like network segmentation. So we've seen, or we've heard a lot about the kind of IT world and the OT world, the operational technology, and how those two things have been really separate for a long time. But there is a need to connect the two networks. So you want people on the IT side to be able to get sensor data and statistics from an operational device like a kidney dialysis machine, or it could be a robot making a car. But when you connect those networks, the chance of, cross-pollination, if you like, of malware and infections is pretty great. And even within the OT network or the IoT network, we always think about having micro-segmentation is a good way of doing it. So you can actually split up all the devices you have, which are IoT devices, into their own separate networks. So based on their role or based on their access, their risk, the function, the mission criticality, whatever it might be, you can really put these tight kind of ring fences around them to stop them being so easily accessible, and also if they're infected, to stop them getting out and infecting others as well.
Useful advice, Alex. Thank you. And for more on the latest cybersecurity news, be sure to check out ZDNet.